May 22, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart. This is what this is what the price looked like today. There was a piece of economic data that came out today right around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is about right here. The FOMC meeting minutes for the last meeting. We already knew what was detailed, or we already knew the decision, but the meeting minutes add a little bit of color that may not have been reported. And as you can see, I don't really think it caused this big sell-off, but it did. So here's 11 o'clock, and you can see for the next 3 minutes, oh, I take that back. Actually, it did cause a big sell-off for about 3 minutes, but it wasn't as violent as we've seen other economic data has been. So for the most part, it looks like things were just trading in a range. Then there was a sell-off, a choppy sell-off, and then kind of a choppy multi-leg recovery. So I took a total of 2 trades today, and I was profitable on both. And I found a few almost trades. Now, almost trades are maybe just me being more conservative because I found something wrong with them, and it was like a trade that I almost would have taken. And I'll go through those. So, oh, this is in the after hours. This big crazy reaction, I assume, is because of NVIDIA. NVDA is reporting its earnings today. And if you look at the stock chart of NVIDIA, it also kind of in the after hours skyrocketed pretty high. So since a lot of mutual funds, a lot of ETFs, a lot of other things own NVIDIA, I think hearing that news when it buys it up very rapidly, it causes the ES to also kind of have this big reaction. If you look at the NQ, it's the same thing. You're going to see this kind of this big spike up. Well, actually kind of a sell-off and then a huge spike up because that's exactly what NVIDIA did right when they reported their numbers. It sold off really violently, then it did a complete U-turn and flash back up. So volume it wasn't that big until a little bit later, until after the FOMC meeting minutes came out. So this is the pre-market. See here. Pre-market prices just kind of fell on this green down channel, broke the green down channel, tested the lows. It's kind of, I found this yellow up channel, but it wasn't even that convincing. That's okay because I don't really trade the pre-market. It's just something I just draw just to, get better at identifying channels. Market opens. It kind of moves up what I think is this orange up channel at this point because it fits pretty nicely down here. It fits somewhat nicely up here. I did have it a little tighter down here, and I did play with it several ways, but when I saw this move down, I wanted to try to incorporate it to have my third touch. So I started from the first low, the second swing low, to third. So I had something that touched pretty well here. The top, I was kind of messing around. I ended up here, and as you'll see later, I actually dragged it up a little higher. There's a consolidation area, it breaks. It kind of tests and moves above, so I wanted to try to not have this overshoot because I wanted to see if the prices fit pretty well. And it looked like it kind of fit well here. So you could say it's pretty much in a channel, but then it pushes out. Again, I drag it up a little bit. EMA looks like it's acting as some kind of support, hits a trading range. You have first entry long, pullback. Here, it creates a second entry long. So in real time, when I saw this as a new high, I also saw this as a potential trading range. So at this moment in time, I'm not really sure if there's a trade yet. I want to see what the next candle does. Next candle, it does create a opportunity here. So there's a potential first entry long, pullback, another leg down, and then a potential second entry long. It also has a multiple test, not even a triple test, but multiple tests right here. So I'm seeing, okay, this is some kind of support that's being respected. There was a little bit more of a push down, so this is technically a new low, new localized low, and it kind of created a doji candle. And so what happened was this doji candle made me hesitate, but when it opened here, first it flashed down. Actually, it chopped a little bit, then it flashed down a little later, and it created a double bottom. It created a double bottom, and I had this orange up channel in play. So I saw this as a potential bounce, and then it flashed up. It hit this high. It kind of bounced around a bit, and I thought, okay, I think there's enough momentum. It might be at the low of this trading range, bounce off this yellow up channel, staying above the EMA, that there's enough for a quick scalp. So I entered the trade pretty much the highs of this original doji signal bar for the second entry long. I didn't want to try to press my luck by, ensuring I get a fill because I just thought if it closes at the high, I might not get a fill. But I just put it here, was able to get a fill, quickly scalped out just for 1 point. I knew there was probably 2 points of movement here. Actually, let's see. No, I would be 1 tick short right now. So I'd still be, my order for 2 point fill would actually be up here. And I didn't want to risk that because I didn't want to try to tempt fate that it's going to push through the top of this range. So I just went for a quick 1 point scalp. Bounces around. It's debatable whether if I did go for a 2 point scalp, so I'd be looking at 53, 43, 75. So my exit order would be here. It's debatable whether I would have gotten a fill here. And if I didn't, I believe since my stop was below this double bar, not double bar, but this double low, I would have gotten stopped out here. Prices move, breaks out of this orange channel, but it's a sideways breakout, so it's not very convincing. The sideways price action also kind of points out that this yellow up channel is pretty shallow. I do see this one leg down, a consolidation area in the second leg down. It creates a measured move. So it's kind of like moves up, created two measured moves. If you look at this on a higher tick chart, like a 4,000 tick chart, it looks a little cleaner. So I was wondering, am I going to get a reaction here? It looks like a first entry long pullback, a potential second entry long visual. It's also a failed breakout of this trading range. If you drag the trading range down to here, then you still have that failed breakout. So I thought this was almost like kind of an almost trade, especially when this candle formed, created double bottom, created a measure move, two legs down have been completed. It's a break of this orange up channel. It's a little too sideways for me. It's range bound, so it's a little confusing. I don't know if it's, I should be playing range rules because it's clearly in range, but the range isn't very clean at this point. It's cleaner back here, but a little noisy here. So I just didn't like what I saw, and I wanted a higher low confirmation. And you can see I found it a little bit later. And I didn't like that this candle closed below the open. If this closed more bullish, like up here, showing me a true, very clean second entry long, and I think I would have considered taking the trade, but I still don't like that it's just outside the trading range that I'm playing. If you did have the trading range lower, then you could make the argument that, hey, it closed at the high, it's moving back into the trading range. But that's not how I had it, so I had to wait for the higher low confirmation. Here I get the higher low confirmation. We'll also call it almost setup, so confirms second entry long visual. It's a decent signal bar, but it is doji. The risk is low because it's only a 1 point risk, so it's only 4 ticks. However, that's deceiving. I wouldn't keep it one tick below. I'd actually keep it 1 tick below this double bar here. So that just increases the risk off of something I was already feeling a little iffy about. Had this actually closed, matching the highs here or ideally above it, and pushing into where I was trading range, then I definitely would have jumped on this trade. But since it didn't, I called it an almost trade. If you're more aggressive, you probably would have taken it. Probably entered on this candle, or at the very least, this candle. If you actually, there'd be no reason to enter that high, so you most likely enter on this candle. If you're going for a 1 point scalp, you would have gotten it right here. If you're going for a 2 point scalp, you need to push it up to here, closer to the top of the range, and you may have gotten it right here. Prices then continue moving, pushes up on this yellow up channel. I'm thinking this orange up channel isn't in play anymore because it tested new high. It was pretty shallow in the first place. It starts reversing, goes down on this red down channel. This red down channel here sells off really rapidly here. I couldn't really figure out why this happened, but it doesn't matter. It's just this big overshoot now. And it kind of bounces and recovers. It starts moving back up. You have a first entry short here. And then you get a second entry short here, but it's too far from, it's above the EMA, first of all. It's a first entry short pullback, potential second entry short. This isn't a very good signal bar to go short on. So when you see this, you're not even thinking of going short. Then when you're waiting for the confirmation, technically there is a second entry short here, but the close of the trigger bar is very bad. So it'd be high risk to try to short this. It looks like if you did short it, depending on where you kept your stops, you may have survived, but I doubt it because if you shorted here, you're most likely your exit or your stop would be here. And if it wasn't, and you waited for this one, having a stop here, you might have gotten stopped out here. So this is just no good trade here. No clean, safe trade. As it then keep chopping, creates a new high here, localized new high, first entry long. You don't get a second entry long, count resets. Technically, you have a new high here, starts pushing down, sells off. And I'm playing this purple channel. This orange one doesn't exist yet. This purple channel moves down, breaks out on the low side, pushes up and breaks through. So I'm watching carefully. I'm wondering if it's going to get to the EMA, and it rejects quickly back down. So it creates a new low, first entry short, also new high, first entry long. Here it looks like it's about to create potentially a first entry short, second entry short. It's also technically a new high up here. you could say if you're counting from way up here, be a first entry long pullback, second entry long. So I'm thinking there's a potential failed second entry long and a second entry short. So the thing I didn't like about this, and I didn't get a trade ready, is this big move down, right? It's a break of this blue down channel, broke on the low side. It tested once, didn't quite make it, one tick short. It could be trying a second time. Now, I wanted this candle, or at least the EMA, to be closer so I could have a touch confirmation. Technically, you have two key entry points, new high here, first entry long, second entry long, potential failure coming up, first entry short, potential second entry short. The next candle is going to confirm both of these, which it does. But I wasn't going to get a trade ready because it was just two key entry points potentially out here in the middle of nowhere. This failure to meet the new low could have been good enough, and prices may or may not have pushed up further on this candle. So I just wasn't ready, didn't really want to take this trade. Looks like it worked, so it's an almost trade. Other people might have considered it a possible trade, but I just skipped it. Prices then could continue moving down. So I find this orange down channel. I said, okay, it looks like it fits pretty well here, and continue downwards. The bottom doesn't really confirm all that well. So it's more of a trend line resistance as opposed to a trend line channel. Pushes down. I have a new low here. It's the first entry short. Pull back. I see a potential second entry short. Now this one I think is a slightly better setup. It's a possible trade. It's a break of this orange down channel, but this down channel, I don't really have that much trust in it yet because it doesn't really look quite like a channel yet. That definitely has a trend line resistance up here, but the trend line support down here to make it a channel isn't very clean. The blue channel here has played out now. It's already tested new low, and so it's a first entry short, potential second entry short coming up here. So when I saw this, I thought, okay, well, this is low risk, but it feels like a more aggressive trade. Because if I am trading the orange channel, which I don't really trust, the EMA is holding prices down now, but that's still not quite good enough for me. And I did have this potential shallower resistance here. And I was thinking maybe it's a third touch confirmation because I actually had it drawn slightly different. I actually had a cut through here. And actually something closer to this. So it's actually one touch, two touch, a third touch here, and maybe a fourth touch. So that's how I had it before. And I thought maybe there's a trade here. It is rather low risk because it's only 5.5 tick risk. Well, added one tick above. And if you actually kept it up high here, it's a little bit more. But I thought there was enough momentum to push down. I would have gotten the scalp, but then again, I wasn't too sure of it. Then when I saw this, I adjusted the screen channel to look a little bit right here because it fit pretty nicely on the bottom here and the bottom here. Actually extended it further, so I'll just move this up for now. But that was the channel I was playing at the time. Prices start moving down. It has a breakout here. It follows this yellow down channel. This is also where the Fed meeting minutes are coming out and people are digesting it. Caused this sell-off. Nothing I feel safe with yet. I did see a measured move here. It's like one leg down, kind of choppiness, and then potential second leg down. So it kind of almost met it, but it didn't quite reach it, but it could have been good enough. It's breaking and pushing back up. So it hits this resistance. I like that because it confirms this green resistance, this green down channel. There's no trade that I like particularly. It has a small little overshoot here. It's coming back down. It's pretty tight trading. It looks like it's coming back down. I do see a new low here. It's a first entry short, second entry short. It's also a new high here. First entry long, pullback, second entry long, potential second entry long failure below the EMA. I don't quite trust a setup like this yet, but then you get a lower high confirmation. But this lower high isn't very clean. It confirms the failed second entry long from here, first entry long, second entry long failure. But it is a doji, and it is maybe this green channel here coming down, but I also had this colored in green channel. I saw this as a potential resistance, but it just didn't quite line up correctly. What I needed to feel confident in taking a trade like this is I don't like this being as a doji, and I needed to break below this bar. If I needed this doji bar to actually break below, then I would feel like, oh, there's some momentum. Otherwise, it feels like buyers are coming in, potentially supporting here. So I just didn't feel it was super duper clean, didn't have confidence in this trade. Looks like it flashed down, it would have worked. So at this point, I'm thinking, is there a bigger channel here? And then there's this potential green colored in green channel here. At least there's a resistance. Something's being obeyed here. Pushes down, kind of chops around. It breaks out. So this isn't really a good channel after all. I didn't really like it. I still don't like it, but it was just kind of there to help guide me. I was playing with this at one time and I dragged it down. So then it hits this sideways consolidation. Very tight trading. This is 3 to 4 points, but I just don't like this side by side setup. Moves down, breaks, hits a new low, starts reversing back up. So it comes up here. It looks like it might be this big green down channel is still in play, at least this resistance. And it looked like it got rejected here. It was a new high, first entry long pullback, potential second entry long. The second entry long, I thought maybe it would have been aggressive trade. It's definitely more aggressive than I'd like. I want a better signal bar because this yellow up channel has a break, made one attempt up, pull back. This could be a second attempt up. It's a little soon for me, I guess from my experience and for me to trust that the EMA is going to hold. So even though it did have a bounce, this needed to be a better signal bar to feel more confident that, to take a long trade because you are potentially running into a resistance here, this blue line here. So it looked like it had trouble breaking through this, not necessarily this line, but this couple of points here, a couple of ticks here. So whether the line's a little higher, a little bit lower, it just found some kind of resistance here. So I just didn't feel that comfortable with it. Looks like if you got it, you'd have to sit through this noise and then likely gotten the quick scalp here. But I didn't want to sit through that. Pushes down. So I do see a new high here. It's a first entry long pullback. So this is actually this is a technical second entry long. So it's a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. But I was watching this carefully. Price action wasn't necessarily moving as fast as it was previously. Actually, I take that back. Price action was really slow. It was moving a little faster now, but I felt like I wouldn't have to sit in the trade as long. So I wasn't quite as concerned about the slowness as previous because after the FOMC meeting minutes came out right about here, things picked up a little bit of steam. So it kind of went a little bit faster, although there were some times where it was slow. What I liked about this trade is there's a new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is a good signal bar, but seeing this, I wanted a confirmation, very clear second entry long. So I waited, it went up, it confirmed second entry long, but I wasn't going to jump in yet. It closed low. It closed below the open, it flashed down, it actually pushed back up. So I thought there is potential for a quick scalp here, quick 1 point scalp. So I entered at the high of the original signal bar and I said, I just want to get the quick scalp. I actually had my stop one tick below this guy and not necessarily one tick below this guy because this is a 3.3 point candle. I didn't want to push that much risk, whereas this is a 6 tick candle and 1.5 points. So I actually was taking a little bit of a risk. I trusted the EMA. I thought maybe this purple channel is going to test this new high. I liked that the momentum here closed high. Then this one tried to push down. Bulls pushed it right back up. So that's how I entered right here and I got the quick scalp. Granted, it's a little bit more iffy, but the way I read it in real time, just how I interpreted it, I thought this was going to work. Then prices continue moving. It breaks down. It pushes back up. I thought there was some kind of resistance here, but at this stage, it just kind of disregarded it and rallied up. Saw this orange channel has an overshoot here. Then it kind of makes a matching overshoot on the other side. So I'm wondering if it's going to test the highs of this orange up channel. Looks like the EMA is holding, but I don't like the looks of these candles because they're turning more and more bearish, or at least they're just 4 red candles in a row. I don't really like that, but I don't see an opportunity to go long either. Technically, I have a new high, first entry long pullback. There is a second entry long possibility here. So when it flushes down, I go, okay, there is no second entry long. Definitely no second entry long here. Now you do have a second entry long, but it's below the EMA. It's a good signal bar, but the follow-up bar to confirm the second entry long, this trigger bar, is looking not very good. But I wasn't thinking, well, then obviously if it's not a long, it's a short trade. I don't just reverse my thinking that quickly. It turns out it would have worked, but I'm okay with that. It just didn't feel quite right. Perhaps if this candle had pushed up, hit at least, the EMA and come flushing back down, I might have considered it. I also had this tighter at one time, something along these lines. So you could say it is hitting the top of this orange down channel, but it just, Taking it off a failure just didn't quite like it. Prices then move. It's going into the last 10 minutes, and there were a few tech companies besides Nvidia that were reporting. So it might have been just people posturing and getting ready to hedge. So it just kind of moved into the close, and then yeah, this is when Nvidia released their earnings. It's kind of how I saw it today. It was, I mean, this whole week has been slow, similar to last week, but I was able to find, I think, two trades, a few almost trades, and maybe a couple of possible trades. Some of them were a little more aggressive though. So kind of how I saw the charts today. Hopefully that was helpful.